Okay, it's a new day. I'm not exactly sure where I left off, but I had to work the whole weekend. I work nights and days. So it is, it's Monday, June the 3rd, I believe. 12 degrees out, a little bit chilly. It's Canada for you. Anyway, over the weekend, where I had some spare time, I just kind of got that all cleaned up. I'm not exactly sure where I left you. But today, hopefully what I'm going to be able to do is put this new brake system, parking brake system on, bolt her all up, tighten it all down. Also, I got some parts there. I got the new seal, 2 bearings. Yeah, I cleaned up the caliper bracket, the holding bracket. I'm going to replace the bearings and the races in the hub. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now I have a press, but I'll show you how. I've seen some other people do it with pretty good success. Let me see what else. What else today? Oh, I got a rotor over the weekend. Got a brand new rotor for that side. And I got all new brake tensioner, parking brake cable tensioner, and I got all the parking brake cables. Also here you see I have my I got the hub all painted up, ready to go. So I'm gonna start by working on the hub, getting the races. So as you can see here, got the hub ready to go. First thing you want to do is take the old seal out. They can be a little tricky. They do make this tool. It doesn't work that great, but I'll try it. Sometimes they're in there pretty tight. Sometimes these seals, it's a 2-piece seal, okay? So this rubber here holds onto the axle, and then it spins also. So this hub will spin, and this will stay stationary in the axle, and it's like a 2-piece seal. But most times this outer piece stays on the axle when you take it apart, because most times this is all beat up and wore out. I feel like this one's probably going to give me a hard time. I might have to get it up in the jack and the vise. Yeah, let me get it viced up here, and we'll have another go. Okay, we've got her up in the vise. I don't have her secured in her too good. I got it with these rubber or plastic grips. Just painted this. I don't want to get it all scratched up. So you'll see here, there's a bit of a spot where the seal starts. I don't know if you can see too much of it there. So I'm going to put my chisel right there. Make it a pretty sharp chisel, but don't go nuts on it. Don't start hammering like it's in there for good. It'll come out fairly easy. You'll see. So just put it here. Hang on. Yeah. Put it on a bit of an angle like that. Let's give it some taps. You'll see. She'll come flying out. And your bearing comes flying out as well. That's your inner bearing. It's the bigger of the two. Your outside bearing here is your, it's a smaller bearing. This says Timken, made in the USA, so it's original bearing. The bearings I got, they're SKF and Centric. I think one of them says made in China, one of them says made in Taiwan. So a little bit disappointing, but that's the way she goes. So you see, that's kind of the seal. You can see it's like a 2-piece seal, so it just spins like that. And it seals inside here somewhere. The seal fails, you get all kinds of oil gushing out of here, or flowing out of here, and going into your parking brakes, and then it goes into your brake, and then, yeah, it makes a big mess on the ground. You get drips on the ground. You know for sure you got a seal leak. It'll be pretty obvious. Okay, I got you looking over top of it now. You can see in here, there's the outer race. Flip her over. Here's the inner race. Now the inside looks fantastic, showing hardly any wear. The inside of the hub I'm talking about. But we need to knock these races out. And the way you do it, I don't know if you can see it down there, but this is right here. You can see just this shoulder here. You can see you can barely make it out that it says Timken there. Yeah, that's where you want to pound on it there, and you want to pound on this side, and you want to pound over here. Again, sharp taps with the hammer, sharp blows, but don't beat on it like you're, don't get your 2-pound sledge, okay? Get a good size hammer, but these don't come out that hard. Yeah, watch now, they'll come out hard for me, but typically they don't come out too hard. So I think I knocked this one out already. I just kept knocking it all the way down. It didn't come out too bad actually. So here's your race. It just gets knocked out of the bottom. These don't look too bad. These probably would have gone another 100,000 kilometers. Not sure what that is in miles. Sharp blows, but make sure you're on the race. Usually you hit yourself once or twice doing this. It's just part of the job. So I've got the race pretty much out. You can see where it was. It was up against this right here. So this is the race. It's about to come out, but it wouldn't go any further because I had it down and I was pounding through here. So now you just gotta kind of, you can hold it up like that and give it some love. And sometimes it'll come out like that, but sometimes they're a little bit more stubborn. Let me give it a whirl. Alright, it did come out pretty easy. So there's your two races here, inner, outer. Okay, you want to go in there and you want to clean that up just with a rag. Make sure there's no big chips or big burrs or anything, because we need to put new races in. Now, I have seen videos where fellas, they'll put that in, and then they'll go around and, well, they'll get it in straight first, and they'll put a big washer on it or a big socket and pound it down with a hammer. That's fine. That's 100% fine, or a big piece of steel or something, flat steel. Then they go in there. Well, now you can't see it. But anyway, so then they'll go around with a punch, and they'll punch on the edges here. Now that's acceptable as long as you have a, like that one. This one's too rounded off. You don't really want, you wouldn't want to be using this kind of a rounded off. Can you? I wish it would focus. Whatever. So I'd have to take it to the grinder and grind that flat and do it. The danger you have with doing it this method, pounding down on the edge, is that you might get it on the edge here and score up the race. So what I'm going to do is put these in with a press. I could say that because I have a press, but if you don't have a press and you need to put these in, by all means, it is acceptable to put them in with a punch. Just be very careful. Chances are you're not going to scratch or score this up. These are extremely, extremely hard. And but if you do put a micro scratch in it, it could be the reason why it fails later down the road, like earlier than you're expecting. So I have a press, and I'll show you what I've done to get these in square and get these pressed in properly. But before I press them in, the new races, I'm gonna give her a bit of a job with the brake clean, just to get all the dust out, and I'm gonna blow it out with a blowgun, air gun. All right, hold tight. Okay, I thought I'd clean it up first before spraying it all out with brake clean. So I got just a die grinder with the whizzy wheel on it. This is a pretty high grit sandpaper. think it's a I think 150 grit. So it's not going to take, you don't want to take material off this hub face, but that's what we're going to have to put the RTV sealant on so that oil doesn't come leaking out. And also we're going to want to clean out these holes because these are all Loctited. So we'll get to it. Just want to take kind of the crud off. Okay, I got it pretty clean, and blow it all clean, and then we'll go to the press. All right, just don't want to make a big mess everywhere on my bench. So just clean her out inside. Perfect. That's about all. You don't want to go crazy. And you want to clean inside the holes here too. Alright, good enough. Okay, I got the hub and the press here. It's a 30-ton press. You won't need all of the capacity. They go in a lot easier than that. It's an air over hydraulic, but I mostly just use the hand crank, the hand pump. So let's show you how to put these races in. So I got the bearing here. Comes in a sealed pouch or package. This is the SKF one. You want to keep everything as clean as possible. You don't want this bearing getting dirty. Definitely don't drop it. If you do drop it, man, I don't know. You're going to want to clean it up and make sure there's no damage to the cage. But yeah, put that bearing back. Just kind of put that back in the box. You'll need it later in a bit, but this is your their large race. Is it the inner? No, I got this thing upside down, so it is your inner race. I just have this upside down. There. So it sits like that, and then this race is going to sit like that in there. It's my old bearing. This is from the other side, or from this side, but it's the other bearing. And this is from the other side, the small bearing here. I'm going to keep those and use them for later. You'll see why. Now, here's the old race. What I've done is I've cut a notch in it. I've also done it to the small race, to the other side. And what that allows it to do, it allows it to collapse a little bit. Okay. So this is the perfect size for this hub because it just came out of there. So you could put this on top of your new race here and put it on nice and flat, nice and straight. Okay. And what you could do is put that, it's just a chunk of metal, okay, just a chunk of flat steel. I've doubled it up. And you could press it in like that. Now, I don't know for sure if it's going to press in perfectly straight, but we're going to give it a whirl and see what happens. Alright, let's get to it. And you just want to take it easy. You don't want to go crazy. So, it's already starting to go in. And you'll see that this old race will start to go in also in the hub. But it won't be too hard to get out because I've put that little slot in it, put a little notch in it. So it'll collapse a little bit. So it'll be easy. I'll just be able to pull it out by hand. So you keep putting her down. There. Now, in order to put it down further, I've got the race in the proper way. And I don't have much further to go by the looks of things. So I'm just going to put the old bearing back in. The old bearing don't matter. It don't matter if you break it. I'm just gonna push her down until I get about maybe 5 ton on the press. So just keep an eye on things. What am I at too? Yeah, I'm coming up on 10 tons of pressure there. I think she's set. So we'll let that come back up. And I think we're pretty good. And now you see in here, I've got 2 races in there. My good race is down in here, and my old race is right here. So you can just take that out because it's got a slot in there for it to collapse. That's a little trick I learned working for John Deere. Now you're going to want to look from the back side, make sure that it's up against the shoulder that the race is supposed to go up to. So it looks pretty good. It looks like it's up against where it's supposed to be. Now what I do is I'm going to take it, put it on the bench here. Alright. I'm going to put a little punch on there and give it a whack with the hammer. And if it makes like a bouncing motion, like a bounce, this is a pretty solid tabletop. If it makes like a bounce and a pinging sound, then I know it's up against the shoulder. But if it makes kind of a dull thud and you can feel it go down, then I'm not quite against the shoulder. So I did clean this up with the grinder a bit. Again, you want to be very careful. Yeah, she's down for sure. So this thing wants to jump out of my hand and it makes a ping sound instead of a dull thud. So then that's kind of your indication that she's down. So it's in one side. Next side, flip it around. Let's go. Alright, let me get the other one. This one's centric. Where is this one made? Well, actually, you know what? This one says it's made in Japan. I don't know if that's good, but made in Japan. Centric. I don't know. I've never really worked with centric before. So again, it comes with a little baggie. Clean your hands off. Of course, wipe it on your shirt. That's always clean. Put your bearing back. Close it up. Put it back in the box. Alright, so here's your race. Just want to put it in there. Okay. Again, here's my other race from the this is my old race. Again, I put another slot in it. You can see it'll collapse. You want to put it up the same way as you put it in the other one. All right, and then you can see it's barely just proud of the hub face. So you're gonna wanna you want to press it so that it's flush. That way you know the other race has started. Now it might make a bit of a click or when you first start it, it might take a little bit of pressure, but once it's straightened out and in and going in, see it made a little bit of a clunk, but now she's going in nice and straight. You can see that it's flush. So I'll put the small bearing in, and then we're gonna center it a bit. And that's the old bearing again, the old bearing. Don't put the new bearing in there. That's a good way to wreck a new bearing. And you keep pressing. Now this race goes down in a little bit further here, okay? So you're gonna wanna just keep that bearing in there. And these are old bearings that I've cut up. You know, the roller needle roller kind of bearing here. And then it has a cage around it, so I've just cut all that off. And this one I found fits pretty good right here. Now the only thing is here that I won't be able to, I don't think I'm going to be able to slip this piece underneath. Give me a sec here, folks. So taking quite a bit of pressure and it's not moving, so I'm going to, again, don't keep going with the press. If you meet some resistance, just stop and reevaluate. So I'm going to shut you off for a minute. I'm going to have a look and I'll tell you what I found. Alright, so I didn't find anything significant. I did pound it down a little bit with my punch and hammer, just to make sure it was going down onto the flange of the hub. But I found something smaller than that big bearing piece. This is just a race from, I don't know, another project. That fits right on top of that old bearing. Again, a piece of metal fits on there. So we're gonna go slow. Take your time here. This is important. This is probably the number one important. Besides setting the preload, this is probably the other number one important step, getting these races in proper. Because this is why you're doing it, right? You're changing bearings because they're bad. So, okay, she's going in pretty decent now. Then she's taking a bit of pressure. We're up to about 6 tons there. So let me see if we're all the way down. Doesn't look like we're quite down all the way yet. No, we're not quite down. You can see we're not quite down yet. You want to be, can I go from the other side? Okay, you want to be down on this shoulder here. So I got to keep pressing down on here till it hits the shoulder. All right. Now it might be this that's catching on the hub here. So we'll just press down a bit and let's see what happens. You know what? I'm going to turn this around. That'll help us out a bit. Okay. Let's see here. Does this go in here? Perfect. So that'll help us out a bit. Will you slide? Come on now. There we go. So that barely makes it there. So let's see if we go down a bit more here. We only got to go down maybe 1/8 of an inch. Alright, I think I'm down. Alright. Alright, about close to 10 tons there again. You'll see it pop up. Alright, pressure's relieved. Feeling pretty confident that I got her. Again, these races just pop right out because I put the slit in them. Again, when you're working with a press and this much kind of pressure, make sure you're wearing safety glasses. Also, when I was whizzy wheeling this, make sure you wear safety glasses too. Okay. And you should really have a cage here in case things come flying at you. This one didn't come with a cage, so. Now you can see. I'll try to show it again. Now here's your race. Whoa, this is the shoulder. Oh, bummer, you can't hardly see that. But anyway, this is the shoulder that it was. There's no gap there anymore, okay? I can't get my fingernail in there. It's down. I put 10 tons of pressure inside that race there. But I didn't touch the inside of this race, only the very top, okay? That's, you don't want to put the old bearing inside this race and press that down. I'll show you what happens. This is the old race that I used with the old bearing to press down on. You can see all the little scrape marks from the bearing. Okay, that there, maybe it'll focus better. That all those scrape marks there, you don't want that on your new race. Okay, so use an old race to press it in. Okay, turn you off, and I'll set you back up with whatever we're doing next. All right, what we got next is the inside of the hub again. Okay, we need to put our seal on. You want to pre-lube kind of the bearing. You want to put the bearing in first, folks. Don't put your seal on and then realize that you got the bearings sitting around and there's no way to put the bearing on when the seal's on. I've done that before. It's easier to do than you think to forget about something like that. Your new bearing. This is just the SKF one made in China, but I'm just using royal purple. I think I explained that later why I'm using 75-140. I have it in part 2 or part 3. I don't know if this one's going to be part 2 or what. Oh, I'm not showing anything. So just get her in there, but don't soak it. Otherwise, you're just going to have more of a mess than you want. So you just want to get all the needles or all the bearings, the roller, I guess the roller bearing maybe. Just get her all nice and sauced up. You can see here it's totally lubed up. Alright. Kind of move it back and forth. Don't drop it. Alright. Okay, you got that kind of lubed up? Take some of your wet hands, You're gonna want to lube. Gonna want to lube up the race, okay? Don't lube up the inside of the hub where the seal goes. Don't do that. Just lube up the race. Pop your bearing in there. All right. When it's in there, you can also give it a little bit more of the good stuff. Again, only inside the bearing on top of the rollers. Don't lube up your hub where the seal goes, because you don't want that spinning. As I showed you before, it's a two-part seal. It spins inside itself. You don't want it spinning in this hub. You're just going to have a leak and it's going to burn your hub out. Also, I got a seal, SKF. This one's made in Taiwan there. Should I give you the part number? Maybe, hey? What is that number there? 28540. And this SKF here, it's called Set 407. Again, I got these from Rock Auto. I'm not sure if that was a Rock Auto part number or not. Yeah, new seal, looks good. Measure it up against your old seal just to make sure you got the right one. But I mean, you could just kind of put it in here too and see if it fits, you know. If it just falls in, that's not good. But if it's too hard to put in, that's also not good. So you just want to put the seal in flat, okay? I got the perfect little piece here to put that in flat. Yep, just like that. And take it easy. Don't force it. Make sure it's centered. And just have a look. Get down there. I can see that it's a little bit too far on the one side. So let's try to get it in straight. There. Starting to go in, but it's pushing down too far on this side, so I'm gonna push it a little bit on that side. All right. Again, you're not gonna want to put tons of pressure here, okay? You just want to put a little bit of pressure. You can see it going in. There, done. Don't put too much pressure. Don't put too much pressure. It's also acceptable to get it on there and hammer it with a pretty good size hammer. I would use a rubber mallet if I had it with a big head, and just go around the steel lip. It's pretty sturdy. It's not. You're not going to bend that down, like bend it around. That's a pretty sturdy seal. But that's up against. You can see all the way around. If it would focus, she's down. Okay, I might get a hammer here and just kind of punk it along the edges. Make sure she's all the way down. There's your bearing in. Very important. No, it's just going to kind of flop around in there, okay? And you're going to see on the back here, it's going to start to leak some oil out as well. Did I get any on me? Oh well, it's just gear oil. You can just set that there for a bit, and you can let it chill. All right, if it'll stay. Will you stay? Stay, please. Okay, so now it's time to put on the brake, the parking brake assembly. Okay, so this just goes on. It's got 4 studs here, and you got 4 holes in here. Okay, so you just shove her on. There you go, and I'll show you what I mean by it's upside down compared to the other side. So the other side here, the passenger side of the truck, it had the star wheel adjuster, and that you just turn this either clockwise or counterclockwise, and it sets your parking brake. So it'll move it in or out. It'll push this apart. So you'll see, and I believe it's going to be part 3, where I set up the parking brake with the rotor on and make sure that it just doesn't touch. But you'll see that then. And I don't know what size those are. I have a big impact for doing this as well, but you can't get an impact on that. It's definitely not 13/16. Oh, I think I have it here already. Must be 15/16. Okay. It's 15/16. All right. All right. Just doing the last one here. I didn't show all of it. It's just a lot of me grunting and groaning and trying to get it tight. Alright, it's pretty tight. Just get the Johnson bar on there. I'm sure there's a torque spec, but tight is tight. Alright. On this inside one here, I couldn't get the Johnson bar or ratchet on there, so I had to use the old double wrench. So now's your final chance there to get some lube in there if you want. If you get any on here, just wipe it off. I didn't get any on. I'm just making sure. Okay. Now it's time to put your hub on. I had this taped up because just keeping dirt out, keeping dirt and crud and everything out. All right. Now for this, you could use a little bit of oil on here. I'm going to use just a bit of, it's called Magic Lube. It's a silicone lubricant. I don't know where you get it. It's from Aladdin, silicone lubricant sealant. So I'm just going to put that where the O-ring goes, or sorry, where the seal rides up. Going to plunk that on there. And don't really want to put it where it rests, just kind of where it goes up onto, so that it has a little bit of a, you know, an advantage getting up onto the shaft. Not gobs of it, just a little bit of it. Yeah, just a little bit slippery. That's all. Okay. I'll grab my hub. Okay. Have a look, make sure everything's good to go. Should be good to go. You're just gonna slide this on carefully. Your bearing's gonna catch first. You just give her a little bit of a wiggle. Get the bearing on. Okay. Bit of a wiggle here. And I can see through there now that I gotta give it maybe this much more. An 1/8 inch, a quarter inch more that it's got to go in, and that's the seal, the rubber seal going onto the axle. But I can feel she's on. I can't see that gap anymore there, so that's good. Clean this up. Now it is around this point where I've done it already on the other side, on the passenger side, that where I started, and that will be part 3. It's already uploaded. I kept it private until I got all this done. But I'll keep going on here for a bit. And if you want to watch it again on part 3, you can. Okay, this is my bearing. You're going to want to prelude that a little bit. Okay. Just give that some spins. Coat it all up. So you just want to put the bearing on. Okay. And you're going to want to push it in kind of with 2 fingers. But you want to kind of grab the hub and kind of tilt the hub up a bit as well. Just to give it a bit of a hand. Okay. Anyway, pretty much got your hub on now. Right now they're dry. There's no oil in them. I will be refilling it up to the proper level, and then I will be lifting this side up, this side of the axle up to flow oil into that hub, letting it sit, spinning the hub, and then I'll also be dropping this side down so that oil can come down into this hub, and spinning it a few times just to make sure I got oil everywhere. And also you want to, when you first start driving it, you can park it up on a hill, or you can go in sharp corners before really getting on the highway. You just want to make sure that you got some oil going back and forth there, because they don't handle no oil in the bearings very long, and you'll just be doing this again. So this is your nut that tightens up onto the bearing, forces this bearing in here against that race, and by doing it also puts pressure on this bearing against that race, kind of snugging them together. Because you're going to tighten it down to a torque spec, 54 foot-pounds, and you're going to back it off. You're going to back it off. I'll show you. You just tighten it on. Just spins on freely. I'm going to turn you off and bring you around so you can kind of have a peek. Okay, got you turned around. So you just want to, this is the direction of forward travel. So you want to kind of roll the hub in the direction of forward travel while tightening this nut. Okay, alrighty, I just got to tighten slightly. You can hear I've got a little bit of play. It'll probably tighten up a bit here again. Now, again, I explain more in part 3 how I made this. It's just a piece of pipe, and I've cut the don't look too close, it's pretty rough, but I did the other side with it already and it held. So now these little notches here, they fit inside the grooves here, inside all these grooves. Okay, so you just want to kind of tighten it by hand a little bit, rolling this. You see it's tightening on pretty good there. Now I've met some pretty good resistance, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to put it on here. Get on. I'm going to check, see if we're at 54 foot-pounds. We are at 54 foot-pounds. Make sure it's foot-pounds, not inch-pounds. Or Newton meters, whoever thought of that. What's wrong with foot-pounds and inch-pounds? So much easier. So I'm just going to tighten it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to roll it. Keep rolling it as you're tightening it. It's hard to do with one person, but as long as you don't go crazy on it, a little bit more tight. Just roll it. So we're just setting the preload. That's all. It's getting pretty tight. Alright. I'll tighten her down. Still pretty easy to spin, so that's nice. No crunchies in there, so no crud in the bearings. That's not what you want. So let's see if I can get her down to torque here. Good. So I might be able to use this socket thingy for maybe another couple jobs after this. Not that I plan on doing this job ever again on this truck, but so obviously that's way too tight. You don't want to leave it at that. If you leave it at that, as I explained, and see, it moved a little bit there. It moved again. So So it must be just pushing this hub on a little bit more. So yeah, as explained in part 3, if you leave it at this tightness, it'll burn up pretty quick. Zoom in, and you'll see here. I hope you can see it there. Sorry about all that movement. You see here, this is your slot that your key goes into. Okay, and then you see there's a spot on this nut already lined up, but not really. I'd have to go back only a tiny bit for the key to fit in. That's not good enough. We're gonna have to go back one more, maybe down to this one down here. So let's go down to that one and see what it feels like. I mean, feels pretty good. We've got no play. Let me see if I go down to the next one if it's too loose. Yeah, I pretty much just have a loose nut at that point. And I got some play there. So that's not good. We're gonna go back up to the other one that I was at before. So you go a little bit past, spin it, and come back. Mind you, I've already set the preload, obviously. There, lined up. So that should be it. It's fairly easy to spin now, but not too easy. And I don't have any play in the hub at all. Alright, so that should be just 100% fine. So your keyway just slides in. Okay, slides in. And your snap ring here, okay, you'll see it has a groove there. Has a bit of a groove. That groove goes in first into this slot here, okay? Just put it in. Just hold it there and just go around with your finger. Get it on. That's pretty much it. It's not going to come off. That just holds your keyway in. If this keyway comes out, then it's just all kind of dangling in here. It could spin your nut off, and then your whole preload backs off here. Whoa, my bad. And then this whole hub gets loose, and it's bad. So that feels pretty good. You can see it wants to keep going, but it's not too loose. You know, before I'd had to do this, both hands, to get it to spin when I was setting up the preload, but now I can easily just kind of, you know, I can just glide on it and throw it around a bit. Now, once there's all oil and everything in there as well, it'll get a little bit looser than that, or smoother than that. There is, again, obviously I pre-lubed the bearings. On these, you can put grease in the bearings first. The grease will get warm and dissolve and go to the bottom of your diff, but like I said before, I'm going to lift and lower the axle kind of side by side, get lots of oil in there before I go taking it for a test drive. Okay? So now you want to kind of just get that hub cleaned up. Hub face. It's axle time. And throw that axle in. Alright. Back we go. So we're gonna clean that up a little bit again because feel like some oil came out and kind of dribbled down here. You don't want that. But we're just gonna put some of this RTV adhesive sealant. Alright. Should be fairly decent already. You just want to use your hand, kind of spread it out a little bit. Don't go too thick, don't go too thin. Too thick and you're squeezing grease on the inside of your hub here. And it's going into your bearing and it's making a mess. But too thin and you're going to have a leak. It's not high heat. It's just get a good sealant RTV gasket maker that's meant for oil. Okay, so you shove her all the way in. You meet some resistance there, okay? Take it easy, don't go crazy. So you're going to kind of want to take this and you kind of want to push down on here and try to lift up with this wrist. You're trying to get that axle to tilt up inside, right where it is against the differential. Alright, so I found it there already. First I got all dirty. Alright, then you just kind of keep on going in. And you just kind of line it up. Now you can still move this, right? So you line it up and you just push it up against. Okay? Try not to turn this against this so you just wipe away all that sealant. That's pretty much it for putting your hub back on and put back together. Now you got these 8 bolts again that go in here. Now I'm going to Loctite all these and we'll come back. I've got them pretty much all Loctited. Is that a word? I don't know. Yep. Done. I just want to clean up that face kind of where so it has oozed out a little bit, that gasket maker. So that's fine. You just kind of clean her up like that. And that's pretty much it. So from this point here, what you do is you grab your rotor, you put it on, and you gotta set up your parking brake, okay? So I'll show you what I got for a rotor. Alright, I got this one from CarQuest. I know this one here is it's painted. So it's painted kind of in the venting area here. It's all painted down in there. And it's painted kind of on the hub surface. Obviously it's not painted here or coated at all. So, I mean, it'll last maybe a little bit longer. I can see that there's a little bit of oil on here, so I'll have to clean that off before I put my pads on. But basically what you're going to do, you slide this on here. Okay. And she just goes on like that. And there you go. You got backing plates, parking brakes, all new hardware. You got your seal, inside hub seal, new bearings with races, axle put back together, pre-lubed, silicone around it. Now all you got to do is the rest of the brake job pretty much. You got to put your caliper bracket on, your brake pads in the brake caliper, and you got to put your caliper back on the caliper bracket, and then make sure nothing's touching, make sure nothing's in the way. That's pretty much it. And again, I show this in part 3, probably from kind of setting a preload, putting the axle in, putting the rotor on. What I also show extra in that part 3, is how to set up your parking brake properly, and then putting on the caliper bracket and the caliper and the brake pads. So I'll save that for part 3. This is going to be the end of part 2. Thanks for watching.